Yeah, so continuing.
Which, I don't, oh, wait a minute, here it is. Never mind.
Alright,
Yes, I do have it, I think.
And I think what I'd like to do, just to begin with, so we were doing a bunch of the Lord I've Cried, and then we got into the Stichera. We got through a few of them, but what I'd like to do is go back to the verses and just chant through them really quickly, since they should be fairly straightforward, not too many difficult jumps, but it's just one of those things, instead of dealing with rhythm, most of them, there's no rhythm at all. It's just one beat per symbol, and it's just a matter of reading at a face value.
What's the Psalms, you mean the?
Yeah, right after Lord I've Cried.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll skip this.
So, and if we want Eson, I brought an Eson accompaniment that we can do. So if we want that, we can always play around with it.
These are all easy.
Yeah. So said O Lord, a watch before my mouth. Na na. With the words, is that?
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's right.
And we'll see how we do, and then if we need no names, we'll do that.
Set, O Lord, a watch before my mouth, and a door of enclosure round about my lips. Incline not my heart unto words of evil, to make excuse with excuses in sins, with men that work iniquity, and I will not join with their chosen. The righteous man will chasten me with mercy and reprove me. As for the oil of the sinner, let it not anoint my head. For yet more is my prayer in the presence of their pleasures. Swallowed up near by the rock have their judges been. They shall hear my words, for they be sweetened. As a clod of earth is broken upon the earth, so have their bones been scattered nigh unto Hades. For unto thee, O Lord, are mine eyes. In thee have I hope. Take not my soul away. Keep me from the snare which they have laid for me, and from the stumbling blocks of them that work iniquity. What's that again?
Which?
The whole thing.
Oh, do that.
From 8, yeah.
Do number 8?
Yeah.
Sure.
Keep me from the snare which they have laid for me, and from the stumbling blocks of them that work iniquity. The sinner shall fall into their own net. I am alone until I pass by. With my voice unto the Lord have I cried. With my voice unto the Lord have I made my supplication. I will pour out before him my supplication. Mine affliction before him will I declare. What's that again?
11, yeah, that weird.
Yep. Okay.
Mine affliction.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Affliction. Yeah, then it's hard because it's split on the next line too.
Yeah.
I will pour, I guess, from the beginning.
Okay.
I will pour out before him my supplication, mine affliction before him will I declare. When my spirit was fainting within me, then thou knewest my past.
Is that okay?
Maybe one more time there.
I did better this time, but still, I can just Tell it was only because I guessed.
The flutter or just the just
The gorgons and the dot. The gorgon with the dot and then the gorgon after it.
okay, and that is
Within me.
Within me,
let's just do that real quick.
within me, within me.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Just gusting up a little.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When my spirit.
When my spirit was fainting within me, then thou knewest my past.
And these are, it's always a question of do you breathe or do you not breathe? And so that one I didn't breathe at all. But then sometimes if I do that too often, and if you're not going back and forth with two choirs, if you do that like 3 times in a row and you breathe only at the end, you get exhausted. And then eventually I had to breathe everywhere. So it's always a question of what is your capacity? Yeah, that eventually is a, so in this way. Yeah. So sometimes I feel good at the beginning and then halfway through I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. 13.
Classic racing mistake. Go too fast.
Yeah. So number 13.
In this way wherein I have walked, they hid for me a snare. I looked upon my right hand and beheld, and there was none that did know me. Light hath failed me, and there is none that watcheth out for my soul.
Surprised me.
Was that okay?
Yeah, I was expecting for me.
That's what I was expecting too.
So I sang me instead of my soul.
Me,
My
I soul.
Oh, okay, yeah. Watch this out. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Do that again, or is...
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Light hath failed me, and there is none that watcheth out for my soul. I have cried unto thee, O Lord. I said, Thou art my hope, my portion. Art thou in the land of the living?
Is that okay with the rhythm?
Almost until we're in there.
Almost to the land of the living.
It's funny because it's all meter there.
Yeah.
It just keeps flowing. So, yeah, the portion art thou in the land of the living. And it's weird because thou in the land of the living, and that it is land of the living, but for some reason in my Western mind, it doesn't feel like we're accenting land. Thou in the land of the living. I keep thinking we're accenting of, but invariably, all the Greek music, the accent is on exactly where land is, and that's where it just fits. And I don't know why. Like the more I sing, the more I like it. But when I first sang it, I was like, that's just weird because it's not a Western construction. At least it doesn't seem like it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I have cried unto thee, O Lord. Let's do 16 again.
I have cried unto thee, O Lord. I said, Thou art my hope, my portion. Art thou in the land of the living? Attend unto my supplication, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from them that persecute me, for they are stronger than I.
Let's keep going. Bring my soul.
Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. The righteous shall wait patiently for me until thou shalt reward me.
That was so easy, but I really got kerfluffled around until.
I zigged when I should have zagged.
One
more time?
Sure.
Yeah, because that shouldn't have screwed me up.
It's simple. I'm not quite sure what happened either.
Yeah. 20.
The righteous shall wait patiently for me until thou shalt reward me.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no.
Do it again?
We do just one more
Sure.
time.
Good times a charm.
For For some reason, I'm hearing something that's not written. So.
Okay.
The righteous shall wait patiently for me until thou shalt reward me. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord, hear my voice.
And that's a funny one because
Yeah.
I want to do exactly what you did, Jeff. The depths have, because a lot of times it does that, but this is just depths have I cried.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny thing. Let's do that one more time.
Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord, hear my voice. Let thine ears be attentive to the voice of my supplication.
It's funny because there I want to do supplication, which you could, I think you could put a klasma under there and do that, but that was just, again, it's the composer's choice.
I've noticed because a lot of times, but typically we're like sight reading these when you whip these out. So
Yeah.
like it's just, and it seems like initially, maybe just because I'm getting tired by the end of like sight reading.
Yeah.
Initially they're kind of predictable and like I can kind of do it.
Yeah.
But then at the end, like stuff starts being different and I mess up and
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, if they did it deliberately or if it just seems like stuff doesn't go as expected toward the end.
Yeah.
They get bored.
Yeah, you want to do
Yeah,
some.
bored.
Seems to
They
pay
change
attention.
things up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want you sleeping at the stand or sounding.
We gotta
bored.
mix it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Can we do them? Can we do from let's say 1, 2, 3. Let's do like the first 5
All right.
and do them.
At speed.
At
tempo.
speed.
Tempo.
Which I think said, "Oh Lord, I'll watch before my," which could be a little fast, but I'd rather push it fast, and that way, when you do it a little slower, it's kind of like it's easy. So maybe try a tiny bit slower, because the end of Lord I cried. Voice hearken unto me, O Lord. Said, O Lord, a watch before my mouth, and a door of enclosure round about my lips. Incline not my heart unto words of evil, to make excuse with excuses and sins, with men that work iniquity, and I will not join with their chosen. The righteous man will chasten me with mercy and reprove me. As for the oil of the sinner, let it not anoint my head. For yet more is my prayer in the presence of their pleasures. Swallowed up there by the rock have their judges been. How are they?
Actually, it was not as much of a train wreck as I thought it would be.
So that's race speed?
I think that's good. And the difficulty there is that you don't want to go faster than that, because it's very easy to get a train wreck and go away from yourself. So that's where it's kind of, if I'm doing it and you're like no, pull it back. Like if you think I'm rushing away, pull me back, and I'll try and keep everyone at a, I might do just because no one will hear that. It's kind of amazing that if you just do a little tap, you hear it locally, but no one else hears it. Or just if you just tap with the tips of your fingers, it's quite soft.
And the international symbol for slowing you down is choking you.
I'm
turning blue.
No, no, it'd be more like if you just the calming hand gesture, like just at ease,
Okay.
I think.
Rein it in, Professor.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Just a slight, just
Okay.
just chill, chillax.
Chillax, man.
Yeah. So let's do 1 through 5 one more time, just like that.
Said, O Lord, I'll watch before my mouth, and a door of enclosure round about my lips. Incline not my heart unto words of evil, to
will make excuse with excuses and sins, with men that work iniquity, and I will not join with their chosen. The righteous man will chasten me with mercy and reprove me. As for the oil of the sinner, let it not anoint my head. For yet more is my prayer in the presence of the pleasures. Swallowed up near by the rock have their judges been.
Cool. Okay, feeling good? Okay. So those, and we'll bring in some more psalm verses. I'd like to do Blessed is the Man, the long version where we do all the psalms. We'll probably never sing it up in the actual church, but it's just one of those nice ones where it's just kind of straight to the point. It's just a matter of getting it out, like just being able to read the words and the notes at the same time really quickly.
What do you mean when you do all the songs?
Blessed is the man that hath not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stood in the way of sinners, nor sat in the seat of the pestilent. Hallelujah. And so we just do, normally what we do is we do selections from it. We chant about, what is it, seven psalm verses?
Okay, you've been talking about that portion of Vespers where you sing Blessed is the Man. Okay.
Yeah, but singing it in its entirety, which is what you would do for a big feast.
We just, yeah.
Yeah. Technically...
we're kind of chanting between it. We're not really like singing the whole thing.
Right.
Anyway.
So technically what we should be doing is on a Saturday night, we should technically just be reading the entire first Kathisma. We're reading the first stasis, and then we happen to be chanting little verses in there. And for a regular Saturday evening, we should really be reading it in its entirety, the first, second, and third.
That portion right there, that should be... Oh, okay.
And normally, there's specific times when in the books it says this should be chanted. And those are for the big feasts when you... Because every evening Vespers, there's a certain Kathisma from the Psalter that's read. And it's on the big feast when you cancel that and you say, nope, we're doing the first Kathisma because this is big enough. We're going back to Blessed is the Man because this person, whether it be guy or girl, has followed the man that is Christ. And so then we're saying, what does it make to be a blessed man? And then we actually chant it. So it's only on the big feast that you would chant it in its entirety, let alone chant it in general. So, but it's a parochial practice to chant it because you would never chant it in general because we don't do the Kathismas except for maybe on Saturday evening. So that's kind of why we do that. But it'd be nice to just learn it because it's an easy way to actually memorize the Psalms.
Okay.
If you have music to it.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of funny. So,
yeah.
Okay. And that's what I'm trying to do for during Matins as well. And I know, Jeff, you're not there, but because we're chanting Have Mercy on Me, O God, the Psalm 50, we're just chanting it off the text right now, but there is music for it. So I put it in my book. And so the past bunch of times when I've been doing it, I've just been reading off the music. That way, eventually it becomes rote. It's you don't even have to think about it. But then it's a little more predictable, and then people can, if they're actually there, sing along.
I'm surprised at the number of people we do have at Matins compared to how it was before. And there's more and more people showing up. It used to be just me, Deborah, Jonathan, Anna, and Doreen and Ovidio.
Yeah, and more, and at least by halfway through, I look out and I'm like, oh, well,
there are more people showing up. Yeah.
So it's a good service.
It is good service.
So, where did we end last?
We got to Stichera 5.
Really? Okay, cool. So let's go to 6. Okay. What I'd like to do is, can we just read through Stichera number 6 straight with the words?
Yes.
You can try.
Yeah, and then Stichera number 7 we'll do again with the note names. But I'd like to just, since we've been kind of sight reading the other things, just continue on this little sight reading trend.
Not quite that fast.
I'm really glad at the probably got.
I'm a lot better at it than I was a year ago.
It's surprising that I never used to do it, and then at some point I started, and I only found it useful one time when I got so confused with the scale changes, and I was like, that's it. I just got to do the note names, and it actually worked out really well. And since then, I've been a believer. And then doing it with you guys,
Mhm.
like I've gotten so much better. Like that, like I look at something and I'm like, well, of course it's the you know gavupa. But yeah, it's an adjustment, and I've always found it easier to read with the words than it is to read with the note names. So let's do that for the namesake. Na na.
For thy name's sake have I patiently waited for thee, O Lord. My soul hath waited patiently for thy word. My soul hath hoped in the Lord.
And just before we continue, hath waited patiently for thy word. Sometimes you can do hath waited patiently for thy word.
Yeah, that's
makes it a little more interesting. And then the my soul hath hoped in the Lord, going down to those in Hades, Christ proclaim the glad tidings saying. Let's do it a little slower. And I think they're...
Yeah, we don't want to depress the
I'll
people.
close the door.
They're already depressed.
We can close the door. That's pretty awesome. Like we haven't been able to close that door in like weeks.
Somebody repaired it?
Apparently, or
No, that looks like a. Oh no, it's always probably been a new door.
or it's the weather or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that too fast?
A little, yeah, maybe a little slower. Not too
Yeah.
much slower, but a little slower.
Going down to those.
Just so when we get to the little gorgons, at least I know what their names are, but I'm still.
Would you like to do it in pieces? Would that be helpful?
Okay. Like
Yeah.
phrase by phrase?
Yeah, going down to those in Hades,
Okay.
and then Christ proclaimed the God tidings.
Mm-hmm.
I guess wherever there's a martyria, one of those markers,
Okay.
the note
Yeah,
markers.
those are also confusing, and
Okay.
or are they? No, those are not confusing. Okay,
Okay.
it's the decors and the dots.
Okay. Yeah. Da-da-da.
Going down to those in Hades.
Is that good?
So far so good.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so we're on K.
Christ proclaim the glad tidings saying.
Do that again.
Yeah, well, just for some reason, after proclaimed,
Mm-hmm.
if you could just go over that, it's very easy, I know, but it just.
The Christ proclaimed the glad tidings saying. Does that make sense?
It's not quite in there, but it's getting
The
there.
tidings saying?
No, just how to do the beats.
Okay.
I'm really struggling.
Which
that.
just the entire phrase or
Just
the
every time you have the gorgon.
okay.
Every time that happens,
Mm-hmm.
I find myself.
Okay, let's break it down further. So we have Christ, and then proclaimed the glad tidings saying. So that's and then the glad, and then tidings, one and two and 1, 2, 1, 2. Is that?
That was actually very helpful. I think,
Is that
yeah,
does that help?
Yeah, on some level.
Okay.
I cannot articulate,
Okay.
but I'm not very articulate. But
Is it the reading ahead part, or do you think?
yeah, I think it's the reading ahead part that's confusing me.
Okay.
It's almost too much for my brain to take in the
And one.
what's the word coming after that, and then jumping into it. So.
And the tidings, the glad tidings, is kind of a difficult thing to look at first, because glad tidings, it doesn't initially look like it says that. So. Okay, so Christ. Christ proclaimed the glad tidings, saying, take.
Two up.
Yep, two up.
Yeah.
Take courage, I have conquered now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and just to let you know, take courage, I have conquered now. Just to let you know. So I'll try not to do all those things now, but at the Chandler's stand I cannot be held responsible for what I do. But I'll try and intersperse little things, but keep it simple. I am the resurrection. I am the resurrection, having destroyed the gates of death. How's that?
Okay, until the end there.
Destroyed the gates of death.
Yeah.
The gates of death. One thing, I don't know if this helps for you. I was just thinking about this, and this may help. I'm not sure. The way I kind of think about things, I put things in groupings, and I'm not sure if other people do this, but like if you see this, for some reason, this is like a group. This is one beat to me, and then I'm like da da, and then this is a next set. So da da da, or I was looking. What was the other one I did it at? Oh, so you have like gates. So this makes a unit here. So this is 2 beats. So I know da, and then the next one da. I know this is another unit. 1 and so all of this is 1.5 and 1 and I keep breaking it apart into little groupings. And eventually that goes really quickly, that I'm just breaking it apart. But as opposed to thinking, oh no, where does that gorgon go? I always assume the note before it, these are a pair. Whatever note is right before it is a pair with it. So those two together always make one end. So I don't know if that helps, just a little bit of thinking. But I just put them into little groups of either 1 beat or 2 beat. Because normally you don't have too much more than that. But we'll see how over time, whether it gets easier or not.
Yeah, I think it's the first time you clued in that I was so focused on the gorgon that I wasn't seeing the note after it. And so I was holding on to the note instead of bouncing off it and going right to the next note of it. So, so I'm trying to read ahead, and that's very painfully hard for me.
Yeah.
Not conditioned to that.
It's psychologically traumatizing.
Yes, it is.
So
bounce off. No, I can't. No, I have to read ahead.
Should we go from I am the resurrection?
Yeah.
Me? Me.
I am the resurrection,
halfway.
Yep.
Lead you up. So I'm expecting. Yeah.
Lead you up. And if you think about it, there's a little bit of word painting in there because it's kind of like
Up.
well, it leads you up, and then it's also taking you where it wants to go, and you don't really know. You're just kind of following it along, and because it's not like you said, lead you up, which is predictable.
Right.
It's lead. When am I gonna finish? You know.
So to follow the music with faith that you'll be brought to where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. Go through it one more time, faster.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that? I don't know, Patricia. Is it kind of clarifying at all?
Yes, it's the little dooflochy things are starting to come in. I don't think I just remember to just not hyper focus on the note.
Yeah.
There it is again. What am I gonna do?
See, on my music here, they're all in red, and so it's like super easy to like over focus on them. So I'm like, all the red guys. There's so much red.
What's red?
All the gorgons and all the scale changes, all the martyria, the note markers.
Yeah, you get that impression of red. It's like, oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one.
Yeah. I guess red is a bad color. So it takes me back to school and all the red markings.
All the red markings.
Yeah. Okay, verse number 6, Stichera number 6. I'm doing more a tempo. So, na na.
For thy name's sake have I patiently waited for thee, O Lord. My soul hath waited patiently for thy word. My soul hath hoped in the Lord. Going down to those in Hades, Christ proclaimed the glad tidings, saying, take courage, I have conquered now. I am the resurrection, having destroyed the gates of death, I shall lead you up.
Alright, let's go to verse number 7, Stichera number 7. Keep going with the words?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And this one, maybe we'll read through it and then I'll use the Isan machine. Because this one, because of the scale change, I think it's good to illustrate why and like what it does. So we'll see how that all works. Okay, from the morning watch. Does anyone want to look at the scale change first? It's not really that big of a scale change. It's still diatonic, it's just that we change our root note. Is it okay?
I'm still so clueless with the scale. You just
Okay.
I'll just guess.
This one, this one I think you'll do. I think you'll naturally do. So, let's do from the morning watch. Na na.
From the morning watch until night, from the morning watch, let Israel hope in the Lord.
Okay, one sec. We who stand on is on pa. So that's easy. What is our next note? Unworthily?
It's up, it's cat, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a flat on it.
Oh, so it's Zo.
It's Zo, yeah.
That's right, because we're on pop, right? Remember?
Yeah, we're on pa. So we go up, what is that, 5 notes.
Right. That's
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Up 5 notes. So, unworthily, and that's one of the. That one's a very majestic thing. For some reason, we use that unworthily, because it just kind of takes its time. It's like I don't know what it is. It's just an interesting thing, and you see it. I like when you see it. You don't see it all that often, but it's nice. Okay, we who stand unworthily. We who stand unworthily in thine undefiled house, sing an evening hymn, crying from the depths. O Christ God, who didst enlighten the world by thy resurrection on the third day. Rescue thy people out of the land of thine enemies, O friend of man.
Okay.
So let's do the end again.
Yeah.
And one thing, Jeff, you did exactly what I wanted you to do, except I didn't do it. And so I forget what it was, and I was.
Well, I knew we did something different at some point.
Well, I was simplifying something, and then I heard you do it, and I was like, all right.
I don't remember what it was.
Lettered.
Maybe, oh Christ, God, who this and
I don't know. I hope I do it again.
let's see, what was it? It was something. I was happy.
Okay.
Not that I'm not happy in general, but that was one time when I was like, all right, very, very nicely done. Because it's all a matter of recognizing patterns, and figuring out where to do them. I'll just ignore because I don't know what it was. So
That was there.
I made a mental note of it, and I forgot that mental note.
Yeah.
Okay, so oh friend.
Yeah.
So what note do we start on?
Oh, at O? Oh my god.
So I know what it is. I think I do. So you can either guess or work it through.
Is it Vu?
Nope.
No, so not then a Potter.
On O. Yeah.
Scott.
Is it?
That's my
That's
next,
what I
that's
think
my
it
next
is.
guess.
On O.
So it has to be wrong. I thought it was God, so it's wrong. Sorry.
It's the. I could be wrong. At least I think it's the right now. So let's see. Paviges oni zorke digadi. So that was just a little quiz.
Well, when we went up to D, I realized it was probably.
Yeah.
I didn't remember going up to D, so I think I was one off.
Yeah. So, oh friend. So if that's God, then this is me. Oh friend of man. I'll let you guys look through it for a second.
So when the gorgon is on the second grouping, so it's the little the kentimata underneath that gets the chopped. Okay.
Yep. And the reason for that, Jeff, do you remember the reason why the gorgon goes on the kendimata?
Why it goes where?
So on of, right at of man, on the second symbol for of, you have the grouping.
You have the oligon, and then underneath the kentimata. How?
Why it's what? I'm sorry, what's the question?
The gorgon. So it's of as opposed to of.
Oh, why you read it that way instead of
Yeah. Do you recall? I remember we discussed it at some point.
Obviously, position makes it. I'm not sure why that.
Okay.
I don't remember why.
So, real quick. And this
in fact, that's not the way I sang it. So obviously, I remember that's what it did.
Yeah, because I know that's.
Let alone why it does that.
Yes, it's like I went to the note next to it and said, wait a
That's
minute,
what I thought.
something.
I
So I went
thought
back.
you wanted to sit on the O for a while.
Yeah.
But no, okay.
Okay, so these are our two guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so the top one, we get the oligon first, followed by the kendimata.
Okay.
And then the bottom one, you get the kendimata first,
Right.
followed by the oligon, right? Because we read bottom up when we're reading ascending symbols. So then if I put this, the gorgon, as we said, the gorgon always sits on our kendimata, and I'm gonna write it underneath.
Right.
Just because oftentimes he's written underneath. You could write it on top, but a lot of times they write it underneath if it's separate like that. So the gorgon always sits on the kendimata in these symbol combos, and a lot of times he's the one that gets it. The reason that I've convinced myself of, and as why is it separate, as opposed to just a rule. The reason for me is that the kendimata, what's the difference between the kendimata and the oligon? Well, let's put up three symbols.
Stressed verbs.
We have oligon, we got petasti, and we got the kendimata, right? So petasti is stressed, right? It has like a little flutter if we have time. Oligon is what?
Unstressed. But it's one up.
Yes, it's unstressed, it's regular, right? And your kendimata
It's unstressed.
is unstressed. So essentially you have regular for oligon, your stressed syllable for petasti, and your unstressed for kendimata.
Is it the kendimata is used for like when you're doing a rise with the same syllable?
Yeah, exactly. So you're always connecting it to another note. And because you're always connecting it to another note, then this is the key, I think, is that, so you have one, like if we're counting, we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And the strong beat is 1, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Now if we cut that in half, now we have 1 and 2 and, right? So now it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. 1 is still the biggest beat, right? 2 is now like a medium beat, and you have the ends which are unstressed completely, right? It's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So this is unstressed. So in this symbol combination, we always want kendimata to be the unstressed symbol, right? So in this one, this is 1 end. If it wasn't that way, this one would get a stressed, and then somehow this one would be unstressed. Because the gorgon, if we put it like that, this would be 1 end. But that doesn't make sense because now the kendimata is your stressed symbol. So what the Byzantine music does is it says, okay, this is still going to be the end beat, and then the 1 is going to be the previous symbol. So essentially it's a way of verifying that the kendimata is always unstressed because it's always going to sit on the end of 1, or end of 2, or whatever it is, on the upbeat. Does that make any sense? So a way of just it's a way of ensuring that kendimata is always unstressed.
Stressed.
Okay.
Okay.
That's at least the way that I've explained it to myself. I don't know if that helps at all.
Oh, okay. This is your own rationalization.
This is my rationalization because you can accept that as a rule. Like I used to accept that as a rule, but then there's this nagging question of,
Why?
I mean, I can understand there are certain rules, but there had to be a musical reason, because either they decided at some point, or it just kind of fell out over time that this is just how you sing it. And if it is an organic development, there's always some reason as to why it developed that way.
Some axiom of Byzantine.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe we'll.
Let it ponder. Let it sink in. To me, when I thought about it, it was kind of like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I was like, I hope other people think that. So I'm not sure if it actually makes any sense to anyone else. But maybe when I put it down in words, maybe I'll get a chance to clarify things. So.
Maybe it's one of those dreams you write down and you're like, thanks for it.
What is this?
Doesn't make any sense at all. What was I thinking?
Where's the pony fit in? And the gold? So friend of man.
Mm-hmm.
So. Oh, friend of man.
Easy like
Of a man.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let us sing it again.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And let me give us a Nissan and see how that works.
The
Give
verse.
me any song for my soul.
Let's see, what is na 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 na. Is that too high? Let's see.
This was the yacht.
Yeah. Let's pick a different chord. Na that. Na na na. Na na na. That sounds like a piney son. Is that okay? So let's see. We'll see how fun this is. So,
I love the app, yes.
Yep.
Fun morning monsters before this. I don't know.
It's from the morning wash. And this is scandalous, so anyone online, we're not doing this. This is not a service. This is just practice.
Yeah.
It actually is very helpful to practice with the Nissan, because sometimes the intervals are different. But yeah.
From the morning watch until night.
Is that too high? Is that okay?
No, that's good actually. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm usually afraid to start going too low.
Okay.
From the morning watch until night. From the morning watch, let Israel hope in the Lord. We will stand unworthily in thine undefiled house. Sing an evening hymn, crying from the depths. Oh, Christ God, who didst enlighten
realize that could be a little distracting if you've never really sung with.
I was
Eson.
going, how did he program this? Is this an app? Did he get this? Once I realized I was rabbit trailing on the technology,
Oh, okay.
I brought myself back in. I was fine, but that's what my brain just went off in programming, and it was crazy. So.
Yeah, this is an app on the iPhone. A rather expensive app. I finally, we kept expecting it. I should go offline saying this, but we kept. I'm still gonna say it anyway. We kept expecting it because initially it was like it's like $120, and I was like, an app for $120? I was like, this is insane. I'll use a piano, and then it went to 54, and I was like, that's better.
Yeah.
But still, $54.
$4 for just a bunch of notes.
Yeah, and a bunch of us kept waiting for it to come down and come down and come down, and I kept waiting, and eventually I was just kind of like, I kept practicing, but with other things, and I was like, I would just want to see whether it's worth it or not, so I eventually bought it. And $54 is still kind of expensive. It's kind of neat, and it does like, which you can kind of tell the intervals are not Western. The na na na, and it does some interesting things with that.
But that's really cool, and wanting to develop an ear for the Eson, that's going to help. I just really had to get my mind out of the technology.
And I've played around sometimes with.
You know, just bring it to the vespers.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
don't need no stinking choir for the Eson.
That's always when you go like. What you need to know is your starting note. Otherwise, you have to give that. So it's like na na. No, but and then it's there. But it's a neat thing. At least when I have like practiced initially with it, it's kind of neat because you can train your intervals. Because then you can do, let's say, if I'm na and I want to go and see where's the interval? Which one is it? And you can because you're tuning against that note, and that note's not going to change.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to go somewhere in there, and play around with what it might be. So from a theory standpoint, I have fun. Read it again.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. With or without?
With. Yes.
Okay.
$54, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want it used every time now. I want you to run down the battery.
From the morning watch until night, from the morning watch, let Israel hope in the Lord. We who stand unworthily in thine house, sing an evening hymn, crying from the depths. Oh, Christ God, who distant.
Oh, that's my fault. I was looking at my notes.
Who distant light and the world by thy resurrection on the third day. Rescue thy people out of the hands of thine enemies, O friend of man.
All right. Cool. So.
getting the thingies. I'm getting them.
The Gorgon or
Yeah, the Gorgon.
Yeah.
Gorgon.
I mean, I think after a while,
Gorgon.
a lot of this becomes just chunks of stuff you memorize. You know, like you're not looking at individual notes anymore. You're looking at, I see this pattern, I see this pattern. Like, you see that pattern for time. So I'm like, no, I don't even like count it out now. I just recognize that that's what it sounds like.
Well, I was trying to think after you had posed the question of like, there's Gorgon and like reading them. Then I was thinking, how am I reading it? And it's interesting because it's so much like a language that, like, let's say by their resurrection. What I see is by their resurrection. I'm not looking at anything else. I just see the entire phrase right now. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then I'm already on the third day. And assuming I don't get distracted by the ESON machine that I have on my phone, then I'll read it correctly. And it's kind of weird because you're looking at an entire phrase of music at one time and not reading note by note or not reading little phrase by phrase. It's like an entire line.
Which is in the long run what you should be doing versus.
Yeah, when you read, you don't look at the individual letters. You like, you just recognize stuff by context.
Yeah, and sometimes I've noticed that when I'm reading a certain thing and I'm expecting something, there's a certain amount of expectation.
Well, yeah.
For
screws you up in the song verses.
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny. Like even with language, you're expecting something, and then sometimes when you read it, and you're like, wait, that wasn't the word that I was was waiting for. Okay, let's. I'm going to read one more thing just straight through. Let's go back to Stichera number 6. Entering with ESON. And then we'll be done. So.
Okay.
For thy name's sake have I patiently waited for thee, O Lord. My soul hath waited patiently for thy word. My soul hath hoped in the Lord, going down to those in Hades, Christ proclaimed. Tidings saying, take courage, I have conquered now. I am the resurrection, having destroyed the gates of death, I shall lead you up.
Okay. Do it again one more time?
Yeah.
Yes.
With or without?
With.
Okay.
Because it makes it harder.
Yeah.
Can we start by the resurrection?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. You start paying attention to what like you're listening, and then it's really you stop paying attention to the music. At least me, I'm kind of like I don't know. For some reason, I'm concerned with what the ESON's doing, and it's
ESON's not gonna make a mistake.
It's the same with the choir. Like if you're singing in a choir, especially when I was singing in like concert choirs where like we were learning a lot of music, you start paying attention to what other people are singing because you want. I don't know. For some reason, you're more concerned with what other people are doing. It's like with
to the detriment of your own part.
Yeah, it's like with the spiritual life. It's so weird. it's like somehow you're so concerned with what, like not with the current thing that you're supposed to be doing, but with everything else except that.
But on the other hand, when you do a lot of a cappella work, you really have to listen to the other voices to blend appropriately.
Which again is back to the spiritual life. It's like
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance, and you can't sing correctly unless you somehow are concerned with those around you, and you can't tune right unless you somehow are playing off of them. But then if you get too distracted by it or too concerned with it, then you forget, then you lose your own part, and then. But yeah, it is tremendously important, which is one thing I love having ESON, because then I can play off of that Isan. Like if someone is singing Isan and they're strong on it, then it's much more fun, and it's very helpful. But yeah.
In fact, at that thing, your friend Dr. Stefan, he made a comment about how important Isan was. He says, "What I need is some good Isan. I need you to, give me the Isan." And I always pondered about that. I'm like, but Isan is so basic. But I'm beginning to appreciate
Yeah.
Isan.
Oh yeah, it's tremendously important harmonically, but then I have found it's tremendously difficult. Like they actually don't teach Isan in the schools until I think your final year. Like you have a 4-year degree. Like you're not taught Isan. You never sing it.
Really?
And we were always wondering why, because we were putting all our people on Isan first, because they can't read the music, so then you just read the note names. But for some reason, it's just you have to be independent. You have to know where the melody's going. You have to be able to anticipate. And if it's not written in, you have to know. You have to look at the phrase and be like, oh, I know where this is going. Therefore, I know how to put the Isan there. So it's a weird thing.
Interesting.
But yeah. Okay. So where did you want to start again?
I Am the Resurrection.
Oh yeah. So. So what's our first note?
V.
I am the resurrection, having destroyed the gates of death, I shall lead you up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do Going Down to This in Hades, and then we'll be done. One more time.
Which
So,
what?
Going down to Hades.
Oh, it's from the
Yeah.
top. Okay.
Yep.
My soul hath hope in the Lord, going down to those in Hades, Christ proclaimed the glad tidings, saying, take courage, I have conquered now. I am the resurrection, having destroyed the gates of death, I shall lead you up.
I forgot to come back up. And I think the one thing, because there's an immediate volume button on here.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, like, if you're at the channel stand, you're like, I don't know, and then you bring the Isan in, you know. But
That sounds so full.
yeah, Mike.
Why one guy up there? How does he do it? Like those Buddhist monks, they can like.
Oh yeah, do multiple
do
notes.
multiple.
Yeah.
Multiple voices in one person.
So okay, any questions?
Nope.
Okay, so we're pretty much done. We'll have the dogmatic Theotokian to do, and that'll be a little bit of a trial, because again, that's a little bit more complicated. And then we'll finish out the Apostikai pretty quickly, I think, after that.
Okay.
And my question